pre-tearing toilet paper on Shabbat? That does sound kind of out there. Or does it? I want to find out. That and a lot more. So sit tight. Be right back. Welcome to Tanakh Talk. I am your host, William Hall, broadcasting live out of Kingsland, Texas, USA, with episode number 47 of Controversial Issues with Rabbi Chaim Coffman in the Holy Land. Welcome back, sir. It's good to have you on these crazy shows.
So, always a pleasure to be here. I want to make sure everyone thinks that at the end of the show, right?
For sure.
I've told some people, they say, oh, this class is going to be great. Yeah, tell me at the end after you've heard everything I've said. Then, if you survive, you'll tell me how good it was.
Right. Well, this week's going to be interesting for sure. First, I want to make I guess you could say a clarification or a declaration. That my choice of title is not in any way to be construed as any, from my perspective, as any disrespect on Shabbat or on the practices of Orthodox Judaism, which I agree with. So, but it is interestingly enough how it's often presented to me, which is, I actually had somebody tell me, trying to steer me away from Judaism altogether. And I said, you know that they have to pre-tear their toilet paper on Shabbat, and they've got to tape their light switches and all this other stuff. And at the time, I didn't know that, and so it was a little alarming. But then, you do some studying, you find out things, and so that's what we're going to discuss today. So here we go. So I'm going to let you take us to the next step and tell me what you think. So all right,
welcome everyone. Usually when I give an introduction class to the laws of Shabbos, so the first thing I'll say is you can't ask me why you're not allowed to tear toilet paper. Because at first, you have to understand, what the purpose of Shabbos is, what the essence of Shabbos is, and then you have to figure out, or we'll figure out step by step, what category these laws come under. Right? In other words, there are 39 different categories that are forbidden, and there are only 3, actually, that are mentioned in the Torah, right? One is that you're not allowed to cook on Shabbos, you're not allowed, and you're not allowed to carry, right? Those are 2. I forget the third thing off the top of my head, right? You're not allowed to cook, you're not allowed to carry. Think of the third thing, I'm sure, as we go along. But the Torah makes clear in Exodus chapter 20, right? There's an obligation given to the Jewish people, the laws of Shabbos. Right? Now the thing is that God doesn't tell us what we're supposed to do. It just says in Exodus chapter 20, verse 8, it says, remember the Sabbath day, sanctify it, 6 days shall you work, accomplish all your work, 7th day is your Sabbath to Hashem, your God, shall do any work, not your son, not your daughter, etc., etc. And in verse 11, it says, for in 6 days God created the heavens and the earth, the sea and all that's in them, and he rested on the 7th day. Therefore God blessed the 7th day and sanctified it. So the 7th day is holy. We imitate, so to speak, that God wanted us to rest on the 7th day. Rashi at the beginning, chapter 2, says that what was the world lacking? The world was lacking rest. Because if man would continue to work 7 days a week, right, then the man would basically burn out. So he created this idea of Shabbos, and then he gave Shabbos to the Jewish people because nobody wanted the Torah. Jewish people came and accepted the Torah, etc. There's one problem. There's one problem over here. The Torah does not say what I'm supposed to do or how I'm supposed to do it. It says, remember the Sabbath day. So someone's going to say, well, okay, I remembered it. Sabbath, Shabbos. Well, is that enough? What do I have to get dressed up for? What do I have to have meals for? Right? Special meals or other things, right, that I have to do, etc. But there's no clarification. There's no clarification of what I'm obligated in, what I'm not obligated in. Now, comes along the Torah further in the book of Exodus. This is going to be a lot of fun now, right? It says, Exodus chapter 31, verse 12. God says to Moshe, saying, Now speak to the children of Israel, saying, however, you must observe my Sabbaths. It's a sign between me and for your generations, meaning between me and you, God and the Jewish people, to know that I am Hashem, makes you holy. Verse 14, now this is crucial. You shall observe the Sabbath, for it's holy to you. Its desecrators, now I have to discuss what this is. Its desecrators shall be put to death. Not good. For whoever does work on it, your soul shall be cut off from among its people. Why? For 6 days work may be done, 7 days a day of complete rest. Sacred to Hashem, whoever does work on the Sabbath day shall be put to death. Now, that is pretty bad. And there are two things going on here. One is, if we had a temple that existed in Jerusalem and a person got warned for one of these categories, and this person said, listen, if you light this fire, and lighting a fire is forbidden, on Shabbos, right? If you light this fire, then we're going to kill you, right? So what happens? The person says, brazen Jew says, I don't care. I'm going to light this fire. Lights a match. There are two witnesses. You can take him to the temple, and he gets killed. Right? This is the most severe punishment. You get thrown off a 3-story building, and if that, they aim basically for your head. They throw you by your loins, by your midsection, and you go flying down. And if that doesn't kill you, well, we have a special gift. It's called a huge rock. We take this big rock, and if you don't die that way, well, it's the laws of gravity. You'll get smushed that way. So the Torah tells us, beyond the shadow of a doubt, right? Well, I'll be Karaite for a second. Beyond the shadow of a doubt, you desecrate Shabbos as a Jew on purpose. You're liable for the death penalty, right? Now we don't have a temple today, so there is no corporal punishment, but there is an idea. There is an idea that there can be certain things that a person, can happen to a person where they end up getting that corporal punishment. For instance, what is the death by stoning? It's really impact, right? Again, take someone from a 3rd-story building and throw him to the ground, right? And that's going to be impact. So it could be something similar to that. Person gets killed in a car accident, right? Maybe one aspect of that, right? There's an idea of strafe for someone, let's say, commits adultery, right? The punishment is having molten lead thrown down your throat. That sounds pretty bad because basically your insides explode. Definitely never a good thing, right? A person dies by fire. That could be considered corporal punishment. Now, we don't know how these things work, right? Etc. I'm just saying that even though we don't have a temple today, and these punishments don't necessarily exist in that form, there are other forms that it can exist in. So now comes along God himself and tells Moshe to tell the Jewish people, Shabbos is very special to me. Since Shabbos is very special to me, if you don't get it right, and the Torah doesn't tell me, and this is the problem, the Torah doesn't tell me what I'm supposed to do, right? The Torah just says you're not allowed to carry, you're not allowed to cook, and the third thing is you're not allowed to make a fire. Right? The question would be, what about a microwave? Can I use the microwave? What about electricity? People say, electricity is not fire. So, I tell people, they'll question what category electricity comes under. But I always ask, really, electricity doesn't do anything. I flick a switch, it doesn't do anything. I said, I have a great idea. Take the plastic off the plug. Right, out of the plug, and then stick a screwdriver inside. They go, I would never do that. I'll get electrocuted. Well, you just told me if I flick the switch, it doesn't do anything. They said, no, there's an electric current. There's this, whatever. I said, but it doesn't do anything. Go ahead, take the screwdriver. So they said, so there's really something going on. Right, there is something there. The question, is it really a fire? Are you creating something? Is it really building? The whole question what it comes under, right? But no one in their right mind is going to take a screwdriver and do it.
Okay, I want to jump in here real quick because this is go ahead. We got to keep this thing as controversial as possible. So, okay. So the argument is